you very much. Hello, everybody. As just warmly introduced, my name is Dr. Christian Reynolds, and I'm representing a team from multiple universities, Kent, Greenwich, and University of Sheffield, as well as colleagues from the Waste Resources Action Programme, WRAP, on the imaginatively titled Reducing Plastic Packaging and Food Waste Through Product Innovation Simulation. So sadly, we don't have a nice piece of physical plastics kit to show you, and we don't have any other sorts of things. Ours was a project that was developing software that has led on to other food system and wider plastics changes. So today I'm taking a leaf from the presentation book of Managing Expectations, but just introducing you to the piece of kit that we've developed over the last couple of years, giving you a sense of the top line findings that we have. Then, because this is a celebration, we're wanting to be happy, highlighting what we've produced and where our early career researchers have gone on to. Because I think the biggest thing that we've done is produce some amazing early career researchers who are going on to some amazing other bits of research, as has been shown in the last couple of presentations. And also, I know there have been project babies from both within our team and across the SSPP, and we've probably not actually figured out how many babies have been born yet within that, but definitely there are quite a few across the SSPP team, I know that. I'm then going to just take a step back and give you an example of one of our products, which is high waste, high packaging, high carbon footprint, and high cost. Because I think the cost of living crisis has really emerged as SSPP has gone along, and start to think about some of these examples in terms of one of these products, in this answer, chicken or poultry, and then invite the colleague, Dr. Rachel Devine, up on stage from WRAP, so WRAP can have a chance to talk about how they have gone through and worked with the project and worked with those different outcomes and their experiences of the project. So we have produced over the last 3 years a new updated household simulation model. So this is a decision support tool, for want of a better word. So it's estimating different impacts of if you change something about the product, what that then does to waste in the household, be that packaging waste or be that food waste. It's supposed to be helping consumers, or more specifically helping supermarkets or people up the chain, think about the different options they could do to a product, trade off these different impacts, be it carbon, be it waste, be it cost, and start to actually think these are the different avenues we can do and give them an evidence base. And I think for future research projects, I really want to talk to everybody else afterwards and say, why don't we start partnering up and seeing what are the different impacts in terms of different foods your polymers could actually be applying to? So originally, if I'm being open with you all, we thought we would have a smooth rolling process through this project, and we could probably get 30 different food products done. We got 4 food products done in this, but we went into so much fine-grained detail because every time we thought we'd finished, WRAP would come back or another partner would come back and say, why don't you change these other variables, because this subset of the industry wants to know the specific answer about pack size versus shelf life, these sorts of different adaptations. So in the end, we created 3 specific versions of the model looking at different use cases, which you can kind of think of as the chicken model. So it's food sold in specific pieces and require cooking and have different storage in and out of it. So we did a big qualitative component of our research looking at people bring home certain pieces of food. Some food stays within the packaging. Some other households to open the packaging and take it and put it in other bits of reusable Tupperware, as it were. And so there was the chicken model for those sorts of different products, which were complex protein-based products. You could think of it for cheese, you could think of it for meat, those sorts of products and how they behave in the household. We then had what we're calling the grapes model, because we started using it for grapes. It's fresh produce sold by weight, consumed raw, and that's its journey through. And then we had what we've called the mushroom model, which is somewhere between the two. Again, it's a fresh produce sold by weight. It can be consumed raw or cooked and therefore can have leftovers. But again, it depends on which of those products, if it's unpacked, if it's repacked, there's different sorts of bits of plastic involved in it. But all of these have the opportunity, if we designed correctly, to stay in that central packaging, which I became so excited about when we were thinking about the reuse. So we adapted the mushroom model for different varieties of tomatoes, so heirloom tomatoes, as well as just the red tennis balls that you sometimes get in UK supermarkets, shall we say. The slight hitch with tomatoes, I'll be open with you, is we started our field trials of this the week the giant tomato shortage hit the UK food supply chain with the kind of unseasonal weather in Morocco, and that just totally pushed our timelines back on tomatoes. But anyway, the joys of research. So the top line findings that we have from doing multiple runs, multiple different sorts of things. The big news is that there are trade-offs between different packaging types. We partner with Cyrene, who manufacture something called the Earth Bag. And in looking at mushroom waste and moving mushrooms and over to an Earth Bag from a plastic packaging, you could see there was a 20 to 86% reduction in packaging weight and no change in food waste due to moving over to a different packaging format. But that level of change was due to how the mushrooms were actually being kept. Was it sliced mushroom or was it whole mushroom? And the level of oxygenation, for want of a better word, was changing the shelf lives and other sorts of things in terms of storage conditions. So there are packaging trade-offs you can have through bringing in new packaging. And I would be really keen to start working with the other SSP projects. Now we have some different polymers to do these field site trials and do some fresh produce, open life and closed life trials, as it were. We also found that the market is not currently producing what is effective for different types of household. And we've got some really interesting data on our posters in the other room in terms of pack size alignment. Typically, if we were aligning pack sizes better to what consumers want, we could be seeing a 70% reduction in the food waste. However, and this is the kicker, mostly if we're making it what people need on a week-to-week basis, it increases the number of shopping moments and the amount of packaging waste because there are more purchases of packaging because they're buying exactly what they need. And so looking at that reuse, looking at these other modes of recyclability really becomes vital then. We also started looking at shelf life extensions. And so typically, if we are able to extend shelf life, either closed or open life, by 1 day up to 3 days, you can see a decrease in packaging waste because of that less shopping events happening over a long-term period by 1 to 3% just through changing product life. So if we can improve product life, we can decrease the amount of packaging waste because of changes to shopping trips. But likewise, that's not the real take-home message in terms of carbon, in terms of cost, because what we're also doing by extending shelf life, of open or closed shelf life, is reducing food waste, which is saving much more money and saving much more carbon for the environment. So it's winning for consumers and also providing a packaging waste solution. But likewise, we also looked at storage practices, and this was a big thing for WRAP in terms of, are you storing in the fridge versus are you storing on the counter? Are people storing correctly? And then the final thing in highlighting was the power of this model, which I probably haven't described effectively here, is that we were taking different variables of households and simulating them over multiple years within this. So you take a fictitious household and it simulates the events of this household going and doing its shopping each week over a 10-year period. And then we do many runs of these different households and different demographic types, building up how different households look at. But the joy of doing this all in simulation was we could also see, if you're doing multiple interventions simultaneously, what the benefits of that are. And we found there were some really good, strong benefits from introducing packaging size trade-offs, different sizes of different sorts of polymers, different sorts of shelf life extensions, etc., all working together can have really powerful synergistic impacts. So in terms of celebrating the outputs, we had some really well-attended workshops with industry, with both DEFRA and WRAP, as well as some different academic events. We produced 4 research policy briefs along the bottom, which is everything we knew about this, and these are all available to download from the website and then link to our different publications, which are still sadly under review, published, or in progress, as it were, just because we found the interdisciplinary nature of a lot of our work has been very hard to get through different journals. So Sarah and I have a paper that's now 8 times has gone through different desk rejections just to find the right journal home for some of this interdisciplinary work has been very hard to find. But we've got quite a few there, and we've got quite a few published as well. But everything from this project is on our website, is on Figshare, and is definitely located within these different reports that are publicly accessible now. And we've taken to different supermarkets, etc., to try and foster that change. The other big thing to highlight, I've jumped one too far, was our ECR development. And just to celebrate that all of the ECRs on our project, I feel, have learned some great skills. They've gained networks, and thank you to the SSPP team for putting on so many networking opportunities, so many conferences to be at and create and foster a cohort. And I think there's been some amazing networks and contacts made throughout the SSPP collaborations already. And again, we've been actively trying to apply for further funding in this, but all of the ECRs, some of them here today, have gone on to other jobs and other opportunities within both plastics and wider food or carbon systems. So yeah, some brilliant different things happening there. So let me, in 4 minutes or so, just run you through a deep dive example of our results for chicken breast, which is high cost, high carbon, high waste, and has some serious plastic linked with it. So the advantage of this model is you could look at how different demographic types are shopping currently and looking at both the poultry waste itself as well as the amount of packaging waste. So you can see here the kilograms per year UK average, and then forecast out to different demographic types that are purchasing differently, interacting with food, shopping differently. And we have a lot more of this detail on our posters in the other room. But it means that you can kind of see where your easy wins are and who is not doing as well as we have. And so typically we went through a validation scenario with RAP using different data that was already available and then trying to revalidate, looking at different levels of intervention. So an intervention we could do was change the types of pack available on the market. And so we found that if you restricted people to be only able to buy, on this far side, 2-piece packs, which means you're only getting 2 fillets in a sealed container, you're forcing everybody to buy that. That doesn't work for a 4-person household as easily, and it's making food packaging waste bump up to 1.5 grams, but it's not negligible, but there's a small movement down. Likewise, if you move people to 6-piece packs and force everybody, single households, etc., to buy 6-piece, you're getting that low packaging waste, but massive amounts of food waste are happening just because people can no longer buy those smaller, the packs that are right for them, for instance. You can also then start to think about if you're changing the amount of packs, you can then see here the number of packages purchased changes dramatically, and that leads to this changes in the amount of packaging waste and the amount of waste that are produced in each of these different scenarios, just to put it in different visualizations here. You could also think of that in terms of the spending efficiency. So along the bottom here, you've got the amount of cost per, so it's the same amount of chicken, but you're buying it in different amounts. And this is where the cost of living crisis really highlighted our focus into who are we doing this for? And if this is for consumers, how do we actually make this as cost effective as possible? And you can't see it because of the zoom bar, but the light green is the amount spent versus what they actually required in their household, versus the dark green bar chart being the spent versus what they actually ate and not wasted. So the light green is including waste, as it were, and the dark green is not. So how much pounds per kilogram of chicken that costs. So you can see that the smaller packs, or forcing people to buy at the smaller with some option of big, gives consumers more bang for their buck. And the middle range 4-pack doesn't give that, but is not the best of either world. Likewise, our model allows us to see what stage of the consumption journey consumers are actually wasting things at. So within this, there are this bottom one, you've got light grey, which is pieces that are purchased, they're never frozen, they're just sat in the fridge and wasted. You then have the middle grey, which is people have frozen their waste, frozen their chicken and defrost and cooked from it, and that's a small amount of defrost. And then the final one is leftovers, so cooked pieces. So the different scenarios, you could see that there may be, depending on how people use their leftovers, use Tupperware waste, etc., could lead to other sorts of waste happening within the household. So again, different sorts of insights for different research questions, and we were very much focused on trying to look at these different optimization scenarios within that. So if you whacked all these and threw them together, if you got people to change our pack size to be the best pack size for the different households, you got them to portion correctly and freeze correctly, we could actually lead through to some quite substantial changes in terms of if you're thinking everybody does everything in the kitchen sink, it's over there, the purple, versus kind of nobody doing portioning, nobody doing correctly. You can see changes in both, this is food waste here, but just highlighting, you can actually start seeing both portioning changes leading to food waste reduction and packaging waste reduction, or looking at these different sorts of intervention and changing them there. We've got 5 minutes left, so I'd like to invite Dr. Rachel Devine, who's a senior analyst for the Policy and Insights team at WRAP, on just to talk through their work with the model.
Perfect. Thanks, Christian.
Just click to the right and you want to move
to the
on.
right. Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. And yeah, just give our perspective on this project. And for those that don't know, so WRAP, we're a global climate action NGO, and we work with governments, citizens and industry to create a world where resources are sourced and used sustainably. Get the tagline right. And we focus on food, textiles and plastic packaging. So this, the journey, I guess, of the household simulation model really started for us back in 2019. And here's our rather fresh faces 5 years ago. And this is kind of a bit of a full circle moment for me. So at the time, I was a UKRI policy internship student doing a placement while I was doing my PhD. So I really came into this right at the start when we were first developing the model. So our experience at WRAP, we used to get these questions from businesses. They're saying to us, you're advising us to make these changes to reduce food waste in the home, but what's the kind of size of the prize? You know, should we be, what should we prioritise? Should we be focusing on date labels? Should we be focusing on pack size? Should we be focusing on getting freezing and defrosting advice on pack? And what we really didn't know was what that potential opportunity was. So we joined forces. So we had the team at Sheffield who provided the mega brains, I like to call them, for the modelling and the simulation. And then the WRAP team, we provided that link and collaboration with industry to get this off the ground. And after we did all of that research, we published it in an academic publication in the Journal of Simulation, and that really gave us that credible evidence base with that kind of peer review rubber stamp of approval, so that we could go to industry and really get them behind this. So our first use case of the findings from the household simulation model were our retail survey report. And WRAP's retail survey, it's a detailed survey conducted by us, and we assess the extent to which retailers and brands adopt our best practice labelling guidance, and that's to support citizens to waste less food at home. And it's all about how changes on pack around how products are packaged, labelled and priced can support us to waste less food at home. And that guidance was co-developed by ourselves, the Food Standards Agency and DEFRA, and every few years we do this survey of thousands of SKUs and see the extent to which the retailers are adopting that guidance. And what we found were these, using the household simulation model, were these key action areas. And you can see there the potential opportunity around product life and date labels, food storage, pack size and portioning, and using up leftovers. Then we move into 2020. So we worked with Arla using the findings from the household simulation model, and we found that Arla could, if they could increase the shelf life from 9 days to 21 days of milk by focusing on their long life Cravendale milk and increasing the open life, so once opened, use within X days, from 3 to 7 days, this could reduce the amount of milk that we waste at home because it's not consumed on time by 80%. And as a result, they extended those shelf lives. In 2022, we published our it's called on our WRAP website, groundbreaking research, looking at if we removed plastic packaging from uncut fresh fruit and veg, what would be the impact on household food waste? So we were kind of at this standoff really, where this kind of impasse where we needed that credible evidence base to say, if we do remove plastic packaging, is it going to push the problem into homes? Are we going to increase food waste? The answer was no for the products that we tested. And here we go, groundbreaking, I told you it was. We published this research, so this is where we combined shelf life testing, citizen insights, and we combined that into the household simulation model. And we found that there are potential savings of 100,000 tonnes of food waste in our homes, 10,300 tonnes of plastic, and combined those equate to around 130,000 tonnes of carbon equivalent. So we then worked with our Courtauld and Plastics Pact signatories to bring this to life. And what we found was, whilst we'd identified the size of the prize, businesses said to us, how are we going to go about this? How can you support us along this journey? And this is where we come in. So we developed a clear set of recommendations around selling loose, removing date labels, and providing best practice storage. And this was a kind of reinvigoration of the earlier iteration of our best practice guidance. And then this led to 2023, where we produced our pathway to selling more fruit and veg loose. And again, this really set out a precedent on what we expected of businesses. So we listened to our signatories, and whilst our research obviously showed the potential, what businesses wanted was a clear pathway of how they were going to get there and clear targets for future years. So by 2025, there's an ambition that 30% of fresh fruit and veg will be sold loose, and by 2030, 50% will be sold loose. And we also set out in that pathway key priority products that businesses need to focus on, and the findings that Christian went through before. So we touched on the mushrooms, tomatoes and grapes. Those detailed findings are going to be so crucial in our support to businesses focusing on these priority products. And then finally, most recently, we had our call, I've got one more slide, for more supermarkets to sell more fruit and veg loose, and alongside our Food Waste Action Week campaign. So earlier in the year, we published further consumer insights. So this is, if we make loose available, that's not going to help us get there. We need that buy-in from citizens. So we need citizens to choose loose in the supermarket. And what we found from this consumer behaviour research was there were 3 priorities. So we need to make pricing clear, simple and comparable. We need to make loose fruit and veg an attractive offer, and we need to engage customers on the benefits of buying loose. We also had lots of positive media uptake. It's always great when your research is in the Daily Mail. And we also had, for Food Waste Action Week, focused on buying loose, so choose what you'll use. And Gino D'Acampo was a brilliant campaign ambassador for us. So here are some of our future impacting. Christian's already spoken about opportunities, so we'd be really keen to speak with any of you about modelling some of the potential opportunity of some of the packaging solutions that you've been working on, and we're going to continue to build our credible evidence base for action and working on food waste and plastics combined. And Nettie, finally, is probably going to kill me, but we have a poster in the next door, and we have used the household simulation model to investigate the trade-off between pack size, price and household food waste. So if you've ever thought, why would I buy a smaller pack when it's cheaper to buy larger packs and throw away what I don't use, have a look at our poster next door. We can take you through it. Cheers.